The Music Dicts is brought to you by Crooked Fest. What's Crooked Fest, you may ask? Crooked Fest is a one-day music festival featuring 6 bands, those of which being The Crooked Roots, Hallion, Kayla Medlin, There Will Be Gorgons, Dearborn, and Howlin' Hollow. More bands to be announced. Admission is $10 at the gate. Bring your own food and beverages, and there are also campsites available if you would like to stay the night.
Crooked Fest, coming to a field near you.
It's Crooked! What's going on, Music Dicks? Thank you guys for listening. Today we're going to be finishing up our 3-part series on our favorite and most influential albums. So sit back, relax, and turn up them speakers. All right, so the gang is back together again. And we're here to talk about our last 3 of our 10 favorite albums. And I'm going to start it off. And I'm going to talk about a little album called The College Dropout by Kanye West.
Okay.
So I don't think that Kanye is very good anymore. And I know a lot of people would argue that fact just because they think Kanye is this great hit maker and all that stuff. Like, I know his last album he put out was like all gospel music.
Yeah, I don't think too many people would argue with you now.
Well, you'd be surprised.
I am just honestly not a fan of Kanye at all.
Well, have you heard his first album?
I've listened to some of it, yeah.
I think the first album is like literally his only. And people tell me that Late Registration, which was after College Dropout, was a good album too. I don't agree with that at all. That had like Diamonds Are Forever and like Gold Digger and stuff on it.
Yeah, Gold Digger is what made that album popular.
Yeah, it's not as good as College Dropout. College Dropout's what got me into Kanye, and
Jesus Walks is my favorite.
Jesus Walks is a great one. It's what got me into Kanye, and it's successfully what got me out of Kanye because I tried to listen to what came after that, and it was just not as good.
You're right.
I mean, I'm not a rapper. Don't get me wrong, but like that album is one of my favorite rap albums front to back because I just feel like it's so catchy. Like Kanye had great rhymes in that album, and I mean, like the subject matter in that album was very good too. You think about a lot of these rappers and hip hop albums, like a lot of these guys from Compton and stuff like that. They lived in the streets, they lived in the hood, so they talk about what they know about. But then you can tell when some of these rappers are talking about stuff they have no idea about, and it's like Kanye was really talking about life and all the things that were going on.
For sure.
Yeah, and it wasn't necessarily too gangster or streets, but it wasn't too pretty and everything either. I think it's a great album. Like people tell me they like Kanye. I always tell them like, hey, have you heard College Dropout? If you haven't, you need to go listen to it because I really feel like that's the only good thing he's ever put out as far as a whole album goes.
See, I really like My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. I like 808s and Heartbreaks. I like some of his albums.
I didn't like
Graduation Day was another good one. But everything after that,
to me,
Life of Pablo was
To me, all that stuff's just overproduced. I feel like
a lot of it is.
Well, yeah, but
that's just Kanye, though.
What's hip hop too? Most of it today is overproduced.
He changed a lot of the sounds though. With
most music today.
Yeah, most music's overproduced. But I'm just saying, as far as like that College Dropout album, like I feel like that's so early and raw. Like that's just when he had first signed to Rockefeller.
It changed hip hop, honestly.
Yeah, it was a lot different than the stuff that was coming out, and like that album is a lot different from his other works. Not just
his production work is a lot different than
exactly. Like I said, it's not as produced either as everything else he's put out. It's much more raw. It's almost like that's why I was always attracted to Wu-Tang because Wu-Tang stuff's so underproduced.
Yeah, really
like it sounds like it's recorded in a fucking dungeon.
It really
and
does.
they don't do anything to it.
I mean, it probably
was.
Yeah, it's probably recorded in a fucking basement in Staten Island, but still, like it actually was recorded in a basement in Staten Island. But like that's like that raw sound, it works for some things and it doesn't work for everybody.
That's why I like Cypress as well.
Yeah, I mean, that raw sound is not ever produced. It doesn't sound like they stayed in the studio for a year and a half to record something. It sounds like they hit record in a basement or a dungeon and they recorded everything they needed and they went from there.
Right.
I don't know, but I highly suggest if you don't like Kanye, at least give The College Dropout a chance because it's one of my favorite hip-hop albums.
Well, that's one I'd probably have to check out because I'm just not a fan of Kanye.
It's so good.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Kanye either. I'm a fan of that album. I'll be completely honest.
Well, fair enough.
Yeah. So then what do you got, Eric?
Me? Halfway to Heaven by Brantley Gilbert.
Just see, I'm not going to have anything to say about this because I'm not a fan of Brantley Gilbert at all whatsoever.
It's mostly memories because it came out when I was in high school.
Yeah.
And just me and my friends.
We
were really into this album.
It's like that beginning of like the outlaw country. Like,
exactly.
Not like, outlaw country was a thing, but you know what I mean? Like the new age outlaw country.
The new like hard country.
Yeah.
However you want to say it. But I don't have a whole lot to say about it because I like the album through and through.
Well, it's nostalgia.
Does that Dirt Road Anthem on it? The revisited version with Cold War?
I think so, yeah.
That stuff doesn't do anything.
That's the only thing I've ever heard.
I mean, he was huge for a long time. It's funny that you bring Brantley Gilbert up because I went to a memorial cookout thing for a friend of mine that had passed away, and there's a buddy of mine there who I hadn't seen him in probably 6-7 years, and he started walking towards us, and like he instantly reminded me of Brantley Gilbert. Like he looked just like Brantley Gilbert, and I say to him like, "What's going on, man? You been in any Brantley Gilbert lookalike contest lately?" And he walks over and he's got a Brantley Gilbert T-shirt on. I'm like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense. He's trying to look like Brantley Gilbert, I guess." My little brother, who's a big country, like he likes country. That's mostly what he listens to. I remember him having this album, and like there were songs on it that weren't what I would say terrible. There weren't songs on it that I like loved or anything like that, but like some songs are pretty decent.
Well, it had a lot of songs on it that I really enjoyed.
What's your favorite song on the album, Aaron?
Oh, hell.
Did you just call him Aaron?
Eric? I didn't call him Aaron.
I heard an Aaron, but
What's your favorite song on the album, Aaron?
What's your favorite song on the album, Aaron?
Gotcha.
regardless.
I've been known as that from time to time.
I'll edit it out so you don't sound so stupid.
Okay.
Jesus. Brutal.
Well, I mean, like you said, like that's mostly nostalgia.
It's mostly what it is.
And some albums are like that for me too. It's not like I just talked about the College Dropout. Like I don't listen to that album every day.
Yeah, but it is.
But I
nostalgic.
vividly remember when I first heard that album, and I was like, "Man, this is different than any other hip hop or rap that I've ever listened to before."
Well, that's kind of the way it was with this album, because it was just like you said, it was at the beginning of that like hard country stage.
Yeah, like the outlaw rock and roll country that first started
Exactly.
coming out in like the mid 2000s.
I mean, I think this album came out like somewhere around 2010,
Okay,
2011.
late 2000s. My bad. But regardless,
Yeah.
Tristan, what you got?
Peace Sells by Megadeth. So this album is what really changed my guitar playing as far as metal influence goes. It's what gave me a lot of the licks that I play to this day. My favorite song on this album is probably Rust in Peace, the title track towards the end. Everything that he does in this album was like very groundbreaking for metal. Even Lars from Metallica says this was probably his proudest moment of Dave Mustaine. But that album for me just really like blew me away. The first time I heard Tornado of Souls, I listened to it like 9 times in a row because I just couldn't believe like what I was hearing.
So I had a buddy in high school that was real big into Megadeth. I will never hold anything back from Dave Mustaine's playing because Dave Mustaine's an incredible guitar player.
He's not a good singer.
His voice just doesn't do it for me. Like that's one reason that I could never get into Megadeth. And like I'm a singer, so
Yeah.
Well,
I listen to
that's,
voices.
that's honestly one of the big reasons why I couldn't get into Megadeth either, is because I just do not like Dave Mustaine's voice.
Yeah, I don't like Dave Mustaine's voice either.
He's a killer guitar player.
Great
though.
guitar player.
At first, that was the same thing for me.
Could you imagine if Dave Mustaine would have stayed in fucking
Metallica?
Metallica?
Yeah, it'd be a
I mean, not to
completely
take away
different
from Kirk Hammett, because he's really good as well.
band. They just have different
He's not bad.
songwriting
I just
structures.
exactly.
I really enjoyed Kirk Hammett's playing.
But if you listen to all of Megadeth's work throughout the years, you would like, they would still make a lot of sense for him to be there.
Oh, sure.
Everything that Dave writes is so good. Like he's such a good songwriter.
Yeah, I like I said, I don't take any away from Mustaine's playing because he's a phenomenal guitar
Lyrical,
player.
he's really good too.
I'm not saying that he's a bad lyric writer either, because I mean,
But his
I just
voice,
can't
yeah.
get over the voice.
I get it.
Symphony,
It's very,
Symphony of Destruction's like very memorable. Like I know the words of that
Well,
song, but like I don't.
I know very few Megadeth songs, but that's one of them.
Yeah, I'm just not. Well, that's probably the biggest Megadeth song. I'm just not crazy about his voice.
So I just realized that I said Peace Sells and not Rust in Peace. I've meant Rust in Peace the whole time.
Well, I mean, now we know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I don't think it changed for me and Eric because we don't listen to Megadeth actually.
Yeah,
Not
I
at
guess
all
that is
familiar
true.
with Megadeth, so
There
it
was
really meant
probably
nothing to
there
me.
might have been like a Megadeth fan out there that really liked the other one and was like, "Yeah, man, this guy's awesome," and then he hated the one that you actually meant. He was like, "Man, this guy's a dumbass."
No, they're both
Fuck this
really,
guy."
really good albums. But this is my favorite Marty Friedman album as
He
well,
said
the
that-
guitar player on it.
This guy's an idiot. He don't know nothing about Megadeth. No, but seriously, like I said, Mustaine's guitar playing phenomenal. I
It
mean,
is.
he's one of the
He's insane.
greatest guitar players as far as his style and genre goes. But like, yeah, his voice just never did it for me. Like I said, I had a buddy in high school who loved him and like tried to convince me, like, listen to Megadeth. I'm like, dude, it's just, I don't know.
I mean, it's metal if you don't like listen to like a lot
good
of
for him
different
though,
metal.
because he just,
You're not gonna
he just
listen to
recovered from what, throat cancer.
Yeah.
So I mean,
I
good
was
on
supposed
him.
to go see him, but all this Corona stuff,
It happens, man. Pandemics, they're a thing.
Apparently.
So what's your next one, Josh?
We go to the mountains a lot, and I've been going there since I was a kid. And I remember one time we'd stayed in one of my dad's friends' little camper, and he had a stack of CDs. And every time we'd go, this was before I really played guitar a bunch, we would bring our CD cases and stuff, and we'd listen to music while we're sitting around the fire and stuff at night. And I remember my buddy Addison Hayes in high school, he really, really liked The Cure, and I never understood why. I never got into him. So I found The Cure Galore, which is basically a greatest hits album is what it is. And I put it in, and I'm like, Jesus, what is this stuff that I'm hearing here? Like, I was so mesmerized by the sounds that are coming out. And I mean, if you listen to The Cure, it's very, very different. I think you and I had talked about it earlier, Tristan. You're like, oh, I showed you that CD case that I had, and you're like,
Yeah, I've never listened to them.
It was actually the Galore. It's actually the CD that I'm talking about now.
Okay.
It was in the back of my truck, and I just remember putting that on and just being like completely mesmerized and just like, what is this? Like, why have I never listened to this before? But anyway, I'm not going to mention whose CD that was because I ended up taking it home with me and listening to it over and over and over again. And like, a lot of people think The Cure is just this melancholy, like depressive stuff. Like, it's not always that. Yeah, there's plenty of those songs, but like Fascination Street's one, it's like very experimental and like almost trippy to a point. And then they've got their songs like Friday I'm in Love, which is a big hit that people probably already know. But that album, that Galore album, has just got its greatest hits pretty much. And there's such good songs. There's early songs on there like Hot, 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 which doesn't sound anything like later Cure. That's really, really good. There's a bunch of songs on it that I really like. I think the Cure Galore, although not like crazy influential on my playing, like one of those albums that I really, really enjoyed and like made a place in music for me. That kind of opened me up to some different things.
I'll have to check it out then.
Love Song was another big song by them too, and we actually play that in the band. You might not know that, but we.
I mean, I play a lot of songs that I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. You play a lot of songs you don't know, but we do that with a band in kind of like a medley. Yeah.
Okay.
So we do that in a medley.
That's probably why I didn't realize it.
Yeah, exactly. We do that in Watchtower. It's a medley in the middle of Watchtower, the end of Watchtower. But I mean, The Cure's a really good band, and I know a lot of people out there have been told like, "Oh, The Cure's this melancholy, like depressive emo stuff." Like, go listen to them.
I just wasn't familiar with them. That's the main thing.
I didn't necessarily mean you guys have heard that or say that about them, but I'm telling you, like, go check out The Cure. The Galore is a great place. Galore is a great place to start because it's the greatest hits album. Like all their good hits are on that album, and it's really, really different from a lot of stuff that I think both of you would listen to, and it's really good in the same aspect.
Well, I mean, this series has definitely given me a few albums that I need to go listen to.
Well, and that's like we talked about Sabbath in the first release, and like I told Tristan the other day, like I've been listening to Sabbath. Like I always knew Sabbath was good. Like don't get me wrong, but like when you really dive into Sabbath for someone that's never listened to Sabbath, I'm like, Jesus Christ, Sabbath's incredible.
Oh yeah, they're awesome.
You know what I mean? It's crazy because you know these bands and you know their hits, but you don't really listen to them. And then when you listen to them, you're like, why haven't I listened to these guys before?
Right.
It's crazy. What do you got, Eric? What's next on your list?
Next up on my list is Boston's album, Boston.
I mean, any album by Boston is great in my opinion.
I mean, this album in particular, because it definitely influenced the way I play a lot. Some of the first songs that I learned how to play on guitar and bass were Boston songs.
Which is crazy because a lot of that Boston stuff, there's a bunch of stuff going on.
I'm not going to say that I learned how to play it note for note because I didn't.
Yeah.
But, I definitely learned how to play some of it.
Is More Than a Feeling on this?
Yes.
Okay.
More Than a Feeling, Peace of Mind, Foreplay, Long Time.
I love Peace of Mind.
Foreplay, Long Time.
That is a killer song.
I don't
think I've heard much Boston, to be honest.
If you haven't, this is the album to
That's
listen to.
not on the radio, at least.
Every song that's on this album was a hit.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like the Cars self-titled debut album. Like the Cars, every song on that album that was called their greatest hits album because that's what it was.
Well, I mean, that's how this album is because every song on this album is a hit.
You're looking at it and I'm looking at it. It starts off with More Than a Feeling. I mean, that's a hit. Peace of Mind as a hit. Foreplay, Long Time is a hit.
Rock and Roll Band, hit.
Yeah.
Smoking,
hit.
Smoking is
let me
so
take you home.
good, man.
Let me take you home tonight's one that's kind of like it's at the last track on the CD, but that's a really great song too. I remember hearing that when I was younger and like not knowing who that was, and then realizing it was Boston. They were such a great band.
Oh yeah,
and
I mean, I think the
such
people
a good
who
mix.
recorded it was only like a few guys.
Yeah, but it's such a good mix of like that classic rock sound, but they've got the blues in it. It's also kind of got like a little bit of a, I want to say funk, but like you know what I mean, like like there's stuff going on there that makes you move, so it's kind of funky at the same time. Like they're a great mix, and like.
So this is one of those albums that was definitely one of my favorites because I listened to it on repeat for a couple of years, but it also really influenced me in the way I play and how I play and what I learned and stuff like that.
I mean, this is one of those albums that I listened to as I was a child because it was an album that my parents would have listened to, and then you kind of like that album cover is very, very memorable.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? Like not only does it say their band name on it, but it's a spaceship. You know what I mean? Like as a kid, you're like, ooh, spaceship, but like. I remember buying this album out of like the $5 CD bin at Walmart, and then I remember like I've got this album on vinyl, and I've got Don't Look Back. I've got both of them on vinyl, like great, and like the front to back, like you said, this album like front to back, it's one of those albums you can put on. You don't have to skip songs because all the songs are great
because they're all just bangers.
Absolutely.
I've never really listened to much of this album.
Well, I mean, if you listen to much Boston, it'd be from this album.
Most of the songs you've probably heard by Boston.
That's what I thought, but everything on the radio that I've heard. So Smoking, More Than a Feeling. Like, I've heard most of these songs.
Dude, to me, the like Foreplay Long Time is the.
I don't know
is
that
the
I've
song.
heard that one
That is
for
a killer
sure,
song.
but I probably have if
That-
it's been on the
I
radio.
mean, literally the foreplay before it comes in along, like all that stuff. It's incredible. It's incredible.
So my next album is Led Zeppelin 2. It's my favorite Led Zeppelin
I mean,
album.
I figured a Zeppelin album was going to be on here sooner or later
had
for
to
one of
be.
us. Yeah, I mean,
It was definitely going to be in my honorable mentions.
it's Zeppelin. I don't know that a Zeppelin album is in like any of my influential
Yeah.
albums, but like Zeppelin as a whole, absolutely.
This one and Zeppelin 4, I think, are my favorite. But I don't know. Zeppelin 3, too.
Zeppelin 2 is probably my favorite. Because I feel like I know every song on this album
Yeah.
just by looking at the track listing.
Living, Loving Maid's one of my favorite. Ramble On.
It's got Ramble On. That's a
Ramble
killer
On.
song.
Bring It On Home. Thank You. What Is and What Should Never Be. That's probably one of my favorite Zeppelin songs as well.
I mean, it's got
It's just got a lot of good songs on that album.
Yep.
Moby Dick on it for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
Yep. The Lemon song.
2 and 4 are probably two of my favorite albums by Zeppelin.
I'd have to agree with that.
I love Led Zeppelin 1, too.
you know, a lot of
All
people-
of it. They didn't put out a bad album.
Yeah.
Not even that.
I don't know. I mean, like I said, with me, it's not so much albums with Zeppelin; it's their work as a whole.
Yeah.
Right.
Like a lot of people hate on me, like Zeppelin fans, like real Zeppelin fans hate on me for liking "Fool in the Rain." I think that's a great fucking
Yeah.
tune. And Bernard Purdy, I believe, is the one like that shuffle, you know, and that's what it is. And that song's it's just that different feeling from a lot of stuff that they were doing.
as well.
You know what I mean? Do a different feeling than a lot of stuff that they put out, and I really like that song. And I had somebody tell me that was a Zeppelin fan, like, "Oh, you don't really like Zeppelin if you like that song." Like, I think that's a great
I
song.
love all of their work.
I mean, they're great musicians.
This was also the album that really got my stage vision started. I used to like
What do you mean
have
by stage vision?
I used to have finger lights, and I would sit in my room and like
Finger lights.
yeah, like these just I don't know, these just like little red, blue, and green lights that you would like clip onto your fingers, and I would sit there and play my bass with them on in the dark
What the fuck?
Say what now?
to this album.
Yeah, somebody's doing a lot of drugs.
No, not yet.
Not yet. That's
That's when I was real young.
I don't think I've ever heard somebody say to me like, "Hey, I started playing my bass and using finger lights."
It was. It
That's
was like a
pretty
little
crazy.
stage show, though.
I mean, I'm
I
not
got
saying
you.
that
I got
it's
you.
not.
I understand what you're saying. It's just
Yeah.
I got you.
I mean, we have stage lighting, so
Right?
yeah, I get what
Do
you're
now,
saying.
but
Well, like
I was in like
I always
sixth
thought
grade.
you're talking about
I mean, you were a
stage.
kid.
Yeah, you're talking about stage setup and stuff. Like I always thought it'd be really fucking cool to have like a projector screen
Yeah.
onto like a backdrop, and like you know how they used to do it with like they would just have the film and then they put like water droplets on it and
Yeah.
shit like that, like an old psychedelic setup like that. I thought that would always be cool, dude. But it's like it's 2020. Like who uses a fucking projector anymore? I don't know.
and that just sounds like a lot of work. Too.
Well, and it's
It
like,
is.
you know, like Dave and them, when they do their live shows, like they have videos playing constantly in the background. It's just videos, not like music videos, but just fucking random fucking shit. And like that, to me, that's cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because not only is it is seeing a concert live a hearing thing, but it's also
It's a
visual.
film thing. Yeah.
You know what
That's
I
why I
mean?
like a lot of EDM artists and stuff like that. They do crazy light shows. And
I mean,
stuff.
I don't know about that, but
I mean, there's a couple that I enjoy.
do.
the light shows and shit are cool.
It's just like Pigeon plays ping pong. They incorporate a lot of that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
in
and
there,
I
too.
mean, like I said, it's cool, but I don't know. I don't know that it's going to enhance their music for me any. You know what I mean?
yeah, that's
Like,
very
you don't
true.
like EDM?
Not even just that, but I mean, like
I'm
Tool,
not
Pink
much of a
Floyd.
dancer.
You don't have to be a dancer to
I
enjoy
mean, look
EDM.
at what Kiss is doing. You know what I mean? Look what
I
they
mean,
did
how
for
just
years.
get
Well,
stoned
yeah.
and sit there and just let the bass hit you in the mouth.
Iron
Yeah.
Maiden.
I mean, as a bass player, that makes sense for you.
Maiden
but like,
is one of the best stage shows ever.
Oh,
But
I'm telling you.
look at fucking Pink Floyd and their laser lights and all
Oh,
that
yeah.
shit back in the
yeah.
day. Could you
that's
imagine being at
inspired
one of
a lot
those
people,
shows?
man.
That'd be crazy.
Dude, Tool was the craziest thing you've ever seen
Yeah.
in your life.
So, any more to say about Zeppelin
No,
2?
I think that's it. What's your next album, guy?
So, I'm gonna say my last one here, and then I think we all have some honorable mentions we can kind of
Yeah.
talk about. If not, then I definitely have some as the resident talker of the podcast here. So, most people know that I'm a big Beatles fan. I like the Beatles a lot. I like McCartney a lot more than I like Lennon. But with that being said, I know that there's no McCartney without Lennon and vice versa, and there's no Beatles without both of them, and there's no Beatles without Ringo and George too. But the first solo album that Paul McCartney released after he left the Beatles is called Ram, and my God, like him and his wife at the time, Linda, like they did all the instruments, they did all, I mean, everything. It's the only album that she has actual like credits on of his albums, and like it was just him and her, and like there's so many good songs off that album. I've got a good buddy named Nate Reynolds, and Nate likes punk and like metal and stuff like that, and we used to work at Kohl's together, and I'd pick him up on the way to work. We'd always listen to music on the way to work, and we may or may not have partook in greener things in life. But I remember like, listen, man, just check out this. He's like, oh, I don't want to listen to. I'm like, dude, just check it out. And like every time I see him, he's like, Ram, dude, fucking Ram. I'm like, yeah, I know. And like, I started doing those live streams, and he was like, you got to play that one song off Ram. So then I had to learn that one song off Ram that he wanted me to do. It's a great album. I mean, if you like the Beatles and you're a fan of the Beatles, like, it's not the Beatles, but like,
I like the Wings quite a bit.
Well, Wings was great too, but like, if you like the Beatles, Paul McCartney's a big part of the Beatles, so there's a good chance you're going to like his solo stuff. I mean, I haven't heard somebody be like, them Beatles are terrible, but Paul McCartney. With that being said, though, I'm kind of like that with Lennon.
Yeah, I was about to say the same
Yeah,
thing.
like, I don't want to listen to Lennon solo stuff at all whatsoever any day of the week. Like, I'm not saying he's a bad songwriter at all.
But it's different music compared to, like, Paul's stuff.
Yeah, Imagine is a great song. Don't get me wrong. It's a great song. People have done it for a long, long time, and there's a reason that people have done it for a long time because it's a great song. But with that being said, I'm just more a fan of McCartney's work than I am of Lennon.
Yeah.
Different strokes for different folks.
I've never heard anything off of this album.
I'm telling you, it's a great album. Ram.
I'm not sure if I've heard anything off it either.
Ram's the title track. It's not necessarily the highlight of the album for me. There's a lot of really, really good songs on there. He takes a couple stabs at Lennon and a couple of the songs he's got on here too. I just feel like it was everything that McCartney was giving to the Beatles, but he kind of did it on his own.
Yeah, that
you know
makes
what I mean?
sense.
I don't know. It's a great album. It really kind of not only helped me out with like progressions and stuff like that, but as a songwriter, like he's a really good songwriter. And I mean, a lot of times with those Beatles songs, like they're just hogwash to a lot of people, like it's just a bunch of mumble jumble.
Yeah.
But I mean, he can write when he needs to write. I mean, Baby I'm Amazed is a great tune. It's not on this album, but it's a great tune. You know what I mean? Band on the Run's a killer song too. I mean, he's a great writer.
Oh yeah,
Band on the Run. Yeah, that's the album that I've heard.
Yeah, well, that's Wings.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, Ram by Paul McCartney. Check it out if you've not heard it. Eric, what do you got for the last one on your list there?
I've got Hysteria by Def Leppard.
Never heard it.
Never heard it?
I'm kidding.
Def Leppard sucks. Why don't you go get you a wham burger and some French fries?
Well, I mean, this album, I listened to it a lot growing up as a kid. I mean, this is one of, my parents listened to this a lot. So,
yeah.
In turn, I listened to it a lot. And it's got a lot of their hits on it. I mean, shit, it's got Pour Some Sugar on Me.
I was going to
That's
say
one
all
of
the
their
stuff's
biggest
on the
songs.
radio, yeah.
I think that is their biggest song for people that don't listen to Def Leppard.
I'm sure.
What I mean?
I mean, Hysteria is a great song.
Love Bites.
Animal, Love Bites. I mean, you hear that one everywhere.
I love Armageddon. That's probably one of my favorite.
That's a really good
songs.
song, too. I mean, it's not really well known, but it is a really good song.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not crazy about Leppard. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I know they're great musicians and they had some great tunes. Like, I know that. But with that being said, I also feel like I know the songs, but I don't know the song titles. I don't know what albums they're from. I know that they have a drummer with one arm. Sure. You know what I mean? That's a given. But, like, I don't know enough about Leppard. I mean, I'm not saying I couldn't dive into a Leppard album and be like, yeah, this shit kicks ass. But it's not something that I would listen to every day. It's not something that I have in my record collection at home. But I said,
you should.
I know that Leppard was kind of that, they kind of rode the line between that early metal and the glam rock type of stuff.
Yeah.
And, they were big then, and they're,
I mean, they're still big now. I mean,
still big.
You got a lot of old.
Well, I think they're still touring, aren't they?
Yeah, they're going on tour with, was it Motley Crue?
I think it was Motley Crue.
Yeah, I think
one of
so.
them, something
I think
like
so.
that.
I mean, I would rather see Leppard than Motley Crue.
That's about what I was going to say.
That much.
Because when I was younger, man, I got into Def Leppard a lot. I mean, there's two albums that I really enjoyed. It was this one and Pyromania.
Yeah.
And
Pyromania is a really good album,
I mean,
too.
both those albums I would recommend to anybody who wanted to get into Def Leppard.
Well, are those the first two?
No, I mean,
they?
Pyromania came out in '83, and this one came out in '87.
Okay. So they're not super early.
I'm not deep into the band, so
Their
I don't know.
discography, I don't know how it goes, yeah.
But I just know those two albums I listened to both of those on repeat.
Well, I think they got a lot of hits on them, too.
They do. Both of them do.
That helps always, that's the way I feel about introducing.
I mean, usually when I get into a new band, I'll listen to the hits first, and I'll dive a little deeper.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That makes complete sense. And that I understand what you're saying there. Yeah, like I said, I think I could definitely listen to Leppard and not turn it off, but at the same time, it's not something that I've listened to albums worth of stuff. I just know their material.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that covers it.
I think it wraps it up.
I think that, like, I think I can talk for everybody here when I say that, like, he's got one left, doesn't he?
Yeah, I got one left.
You got one left? That doesn't matter. Anyway, I feel like, I'm just kidding. What do you got? What's your last one, Tristan?
So I want to put every Tool album up here, but I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
Gosh.
So I picked Lateralis.
Lateralis.
I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know a single Tool song by name.
Yeah, you probably don't.
No, probably not. You probably heard the pause.
I've heard Tool, and I can tell you right now, I hate Tool.
Really?
You hate Tool?
Wow.
Really? You don't
Wow.
you don't like Stinkfist, bro?
Dude, what? Like
Um,
Anima?
So I mean, I think if I had to just pick a Tool album, it'd be tough because I like Undertow a lot.
Yeah, a lot of people like the older stuff as well.
10,000 Days is a great album too.
I love.
I mean, but
10,000
once
Days.
again, you're talking about like, I'll be completely honest with you. I haven't listened to the new album front to back, so I can't really.
It's kind of
on
softer
it.
and
Yeah.
more slower in parts. It's more like drawn out. I don't know. I don't think it's quite as good as 10,000 Days or Lateralis, but I mean, it's still definitely a
I
good
think
Tool
Enema's
album.
up there too.
Anima's a great album.
Anima, Enema, whatever. You know, I don't know. Sorry, I mispronounced Enema.
But
Sorry, all you Tool fans out
Lateralis is
there.
what really changed the music for me. Like, it really brought me into getting back into music because I was kind of out of it for a couple years. I stopped playing as much as I used to, and then
Yeah.
I mean, I've been there with that too.
it really brought me back into like appreciating music and appreciating everything about it, and like learning more intricate rhythms and stuff like that. Like the drum work on that album is some of the best
Danny
to ever
Carey's
fucking
phenomenal.
exist.
I mean,
like,
I'm not like the biggest Tool fan, but I know that Danny Carey's great.
He is insanely good. I mean, the production work on that album alone is some of the best ever.
Not to just speak highly of Danny Carey, but Maynard's not a slouch on the bass.
No, you mean Justin?
Or Justin, yeah.
Yeah, Justin's on a.
No,
the whole band
the
is
bass
insane.
licks are ridiculous with Tool.
Schism's like one of their most known songs.
Yeah,
for sure.
I don't know.
Oh,
what I was
actually,
thinking about
I think
Maynard.
I might actually know that song.
Maynard
Yeah,
being
that's-
the bass player, but no, yeah, and I mean Maynard's got that voice that's just like, it's not like necessarily the best voice in the world, but once again,
But it fits
with
with
like
exactly
the Neil
what they're doing.
Youngs and the stuff
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, it works, and
It's
like
ominous,
that's
too.
you know put them in the same category.
Mm-hmm.
When you think of Tool, you think of that. You know, Danny Carey's a great drummer. You think about those really just thick bass lines.
If
Think
you
about
really
his
get into
voice.
that album, I think it's one of the top 10 albums of all time.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I just know their other work more than I know Lateralis.
Yeah.
Or I've listened to it more.
It got more experimental. It was like a lot more different. I don't want to say it was too much different than Anima because that's when they really started to like branch out and be more
Yeah.
experimental, but it really is a lot different than some of their other stuff.
Well, I mean, if you
Or
think
earlier
about
stuff, I should
you
say.
think about Maynard, like Tool is great. I really really like
Yeah.
Tool. Tool's, and once again, not a band that I listen to all the time, but like
When they come on, yeah.
I know Tool's great. You know, Maynard's also got a Perfect Circle. I think a Perfect Circle is like Tool light.
It really is, though.
It really is.
It
Like I
really
think that's
is.
the best way to describe it. And I really like a Perfect Circle too.
Well, Howard Dell used to be Adam's guitar tech, and I think him being around him all the time gave him a lot of influence and stuff.
Yeah. And then you got Pussifer,
Yeah.
which I think's garbage, but you know.
Some of their stuff isn't bad. Some of their stuff really is like really weird.
Yeah, my point is like, you know, Maynard's very, very musical, and he's got all these, and I believe he owns a winery too.
Yeah, he does.
You know
He's
what I mean?
always
Like,
working.
He's got a bunch of stuff.
He's got a
going on.
vineyard. He's got all kinds of stuff.
But yeah, Tool, Lateralis, from what I know, like the tracks I know off of it
Mm.
are good tracks. I haven't listened to it front to back. The others that I had listed earlier are the ones that I've really listened to and I really like. But yeah, I mean, it's Tool, man. I mean, if you listen to Tool, you know what you're getting yourself into with Tool, and if you like Tool, you know, I don't think they have very much material, I should say, out there if you like Tool that you're going to dislike.
Yeah, and one of the things that I really liked about this album in particular was like how deep rooted into history it is. If you really go to understand what these songs are about, it might take you 3 and 4 hours of reading, you know,
Yeah.
stuff from thousands of years ago. Maynard really does bring in some crazy topics.
Well, I feel like they have their sound.
Yeah.
Tool has their own sound. People don't sound like Tool, and like they don't stray from that Tool sound, and that's what they're really good at. That we've talked about before. There's bands out there that can almost ride this roller coaster of genres. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
absolutely.
They can change up a lot, and they can still stay relevant. And Tool's one of those bands that's just flatlined and stayed
Yep.
the same the whole time, and
They
like
haven't
they've
changed at
been
all.
very relevant and very successful with their sound.
Yeah,
All right, so I cut Tristan off. Still let him get that last album
it's
in.
okay.
So I think it's time to throw some honorable mentions in there. I think if you guys just want to go round table real quick, I'll throw some out. If you guys want to discuss them, we can. If not, we'll just keep moving down the list.
All right.
So the first one I have honorable mention, Book of Shadows, Zach Wild. Zach
okay,
Wild's
okay.
early acoustic stuff. Like, I love Black Label. Don't get me wrong. I feel like if Zach Wild would have kept playing the same stuff he'd been playing, like he still would have been just as big because that early stuff, that early acoustic driven stuff is phenomenal in my opinion. Let's see. I've got Deja Vu by CSNY, Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young. That is my favorite Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young album. I mean, it's got Almost Cut My Hair, which is probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young. Helpless is on there, which is a Neil Young song. Woodstock's on there, great song. Carry On's on there. It's a great album. Santana's Abraxas. if that's the correct way to say that. Like, I remember the first time hearing that on vinyl, and it was just incredible. I've got Neil Young's Everybody Knows This Is Nowhere. Like, any early Neil Young album works for me.
Yeah.
Because Neil, I think, honestly, is one of the most influential players, and I don't want to say singers, but players and, like, writers. Like, he's got a really smooth way of, like, not saying too much, but he says just enough. Pretzel Logic's on here. I know you don't like Steely Dan, Tristan, but, like, some of that Steely Dan stuff's just worth $1 million to me.
I don't necessarily don't like it, but it is like
It's not your thing.
it's not my cup of tea.
It's definitely my cup of tea. The Low End Theory by A Tribe Called Quest. If you haven't listened to A Tribe Called Quest, bro, like that's
Never heard of them.
I've heard of them several times.
A Tribe Called Quest is that like wordy, and when I say wordy, like I don't mean
What do they
disrespect in
sing?
any way. You mean like their hits?
Yeah.
Like I don't know that you would know any of their.
Yeah, I know
like-
one of their songs. Come on.
I don't know what it would be. I mean, I would have to sit there and look at like a greatest hits album.
They have a really popular song that I think I know.
So I mean, off of this album, like Excursions, Bugging Out is another big one. Check the Rhyme is another big one. Scenario is another one. Like I don't know, like you'd have to sit down and listen to it, but like A Tribe Called Quest was really good at mixing the hip hop and jazz together. Like they would have that stand up bass, like that jazzy stand up bass, and that kind of jazzy drum kit in all of their stuff, especially the early stuff, especially in the Low End Theory. It's my favorite Tribe Called Quest album. I really feel like if you want to listen to Tribe Called Quest, get their greatest hits because their greatest hits album is really, really good. BB King, any BB King album to me is great. Live at the Regal is probably one of my favorite BB King albums. Anything by the band, the self-titled The Band album is
that's a good
incredible.
album.
I mean, the band's great. They don't get enough credit. And for those of you that don't know, the band was Bob Dylan's backing band, and that's how they became The Band. And if you haven't listened to the Basements tapes, go listen to them. Basement tapes are great. That's the band and Dylan, another great album. And the last album I've got for honorable mention here is the Beatles' Abbey Road. I mean,
I mean,
it's the Beatles' Abbey Road. I mean, we've talked about it before, Tristan. That 500, I think it was 500 greatest.
Yeah.
The list that Rolling Stones had Sgt. Pepper's as the number one greatest album of all time. I don't know that I would say it's the greatest Beatles album, but they have it at number one. Like the Beatles' Abbey Road was like the first Beatles album that I sat down and listened to, and it was where they were experimental, but they weren't experimental enough to
Stuff
where
come
like
together on it.
everybody was doing drugs. It was like
I think so.
it was like how do I explain it? They were experimental, but they were still true to that kind of Beatles songwriting and your verse choruses
Almost
and
pop
stuff
style,
like that.
kinda.
Yeah, Come Together's on Abbey Road. But you know what I mean? Like it's not that Sgt. Pepper's and the stuff that you would get later on where it's obviously very acid and mushroom and drug influence. Not that it's bad either, because that Beatles I like too, but Abbey Road's the first Beatles album I truly remember listening to like front to back and being like, oh, this is the Beatles, I dig it. Eric, you got any honorable mentions?
I sure do. I mean, my first honorable mention has to be Highway to Hell by AC/DC.
Oh,
I mean,
that's
'cause
a really good one.
it's their other biggest album.
Yeah. I mean, what can we say about AC/DC that we haven't? It's AC/DC.
Exactly.
You know what you're
But
you know
I mean,
what you're
that's,
getting.
that's the last album with Bon on it.
Yeah.
It's one of the best albums with Bon on it.
You know what you're getting.
It always
Exactly.
reminds me of Little Nicky.
Little Nicky.
Always.
And then greatest hits albums on there. Great White's greatest hits.
Oh, dude, great.
Okay.
Dude, oh, my God. So I remember being a kid, right? My mom had their greatest hits, and Lady Red Light
Yeah,
was a killer song. Rock Me, dude.
Rock Me. Oh, I love that song,
Dude, that song's got so much cool shit in
They
it.
were
It
great
sure does.
musicians.
The way it starts out, like, it starts out just...
Interesting story though. Great White. I'm not sure which version of Great White, but Great White has actually used the bass rig I have in the other room.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
That's really cool.
Then you got, like, Once Bitten, Twice Shy.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's
Great White's, they're a killer band, dude. Killer band. But yeah, my mom used to play that album for us all the time when we were kids. I remember that
well, I
vividly.
mean that's why I know this album is my parents.
Yeah, exactly.
Little Piece of Dixie by Blackberry Smoke.
Yeah,
Okay.
I love Blackberry Smoke.
That's one of their earlier albums, just before they got their organ player.
Yeah.
I still need to check them out.
Yeah,
Dude, you
this
absolutely...
one and Whippoorwill.
Whippoorwill would be that would be the one that I would say, hey, go check that out first, because I feel like every song on that is very, very good,
Yeah.
and it's very, very listenable.
Okay.
Like, you know what I mean? It's not too classic rocky, southern rocky for you to be like, oh, not that you don't like that, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like too driven and influenced by just that one genre where you're like, oh, I know I'm not going to like this. It's
Yeah.
got very, very well-rounded as an album.
Yeah. And then the last album that I have, Wide Open by Jason Aldean.
I don't remember which one that one was.
It's the one that had She's Country on it.
No idea.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So I mean, like, don't get me wrong. I saw Aldine at the Coliseum
Yeah.
with somebody else played with him. Oh, it was Lee Bryce, dude. And let me tell you what, I'm not a huge country fan. Like,
I like Lee Bryce.
Lee Bryce had some killer tunes. But as far as Jason Aldean goes, like, I like Jason Aldean's early stuff a lot. His early stuff. And by early, when I say early, I'm talking about, I'm looking her up here. So like Relentless and that first Jason Aldean album that was self-titled.
Yeah.
That Hicktown. I thought Hicktown was a killer song, dude.
Hicktown is a killer song.
I mean, it's overplayed.
Well,
It was
sure, but I
overplayed
mean,
when it
what
came out.
isn't?
Dude, Amarillo Sky was a
Amarillo
great tune.
Sky is a good song.
Asphalt Cowboy is a great tune.
I mean, this album's on my list because I had it in my truck and I listened to it
All
over
the time.
and over
Yeah.
and over and over.
And that's
in high
like
school.
my little brother had this album. I remember that. You're the Love I Want to Be In is a great tune.
I mean, this one had a lot of good ones on it too. Like The Truth is on this album, and that's a fantastic song.
Yeah, Johnny Cash was a great tune. Laughed Until We Cried. But like I said, those first two albums to me was my peak. I really like Jason Aldean, and it happens like that with a lot of artists. You know what I mean? Like, you dig their early stuff, and then they get out there, and
Right.
they,
I mean,
and
because some of his
Yep.
newer albums are just kind of garbage.
it's radio country.
yeah.
but like
but he's got some good stuff peppered in here and there.
he does, and I'm not going to say that he doesn't, but I feel like most of it's probably not the singles, and it's probably not the stuff you're going to hear on radio.
Yeah, and it's not.
But for me to go out and buy an album of Jason Aldean's,
I mean, I wouldn't. I would cherry pick my songs.
Well, exactly.
Yep.
That's what you got Spotify for. That's why you pay for it. But like I
Exactly.
said, those two first Jason Aldean albums, if you're not a country fan, I completely understand it because you're talking to a guy right here, or you're listening to a guy talk right here that doesn't listen to very much modern and new age country. Aldean, those first two albums were early 2000s, I believe. Yeah. 2005 and 2007 are the album that I'm talking about. So that's early 2000s. I'm a firm believer that country quit being as good as it was
Well, right around this,
the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
right around this time,
I
when
would
they started
say
to get like that radio
mid-2000s.
country.
Mid 2000s, exactly.
Yeah, because like 2009 is when Wide Open came out, and like right after
About
that,
then,
that's when
yeah.
everything started to get really poppy.
Exactly. And I feel like those two first Jason Aldean albums, like, if you're not a country fan, you can still sit down and listen to these. Like, I'm telling you, as much as Hicktown was ever played, like, the first time I heard that song,
That's a killer song.
it's a jammin' fucking tune.
Wait a minute. Is this Nelly and Tim McGraw's fault over and over again?
Oh God, don't even mention that song.
I remember I slow danced to that song in, like, school more than
I
once.
listened to it the other day.
I hate that song so much. It's so
But
bad.
that was the start of trap
It's an
drums and
earworm,
country.
Too. God, it just gets in my head.
Yeah, well, I mean, Tim McGraw is one of those artists, like, he had his highs, but my God, did he have his lows when it came to music, man.
Red Solo Cup, dude.
Red Solo Cup's Toby Keith, bud.
Oh, same
Yeah,
dude,
wrong
right?
country artist.
Don't,
No, it's the same thing.
It's funny though, because not that we're talking about like these artists that have changed over the years, but Toby Keith's another one, man.
I'm not listening to much Tim McGraw.
Like his early, like, how do you like me now?
Yeah,
and
dude.
should have been a cowboy. Like that stuff, great to me. His later stuff, it's like it's America, Budweiser. Like it doesn't do it.
It all follows the same themes.
It doesn't do it for
Courtesy
me.
of the
at all.
Red, White, and Blue is like one of my favorite songs ever. Not really, but
Okay.
I do love that song.
I'm not going to comment any further on that. Tristan, what's your honorable mentions?
So I've got like 1,000 of them. So 10,000 Days definitely made it on there.
Yeah. Who?
Pronounced Leonard
10,000
Skinner.
Days Tool.
Leonard Skinner's
Okay.
first album
Yeah,
really,
God, that's a given, man.
really changed the way that I played
To
guitar.
me, like though, I'm not trying to interrupt you because I'm sure you have a bunch, but like any Skinner album before the plane crash is a fucking
yeah,
fantastic
They're all
album.
fantastic.
Hellbilly Deluxe by Rob Zombie. That's a really big one for
Hell
me.
yeah, okay.
Have you not listened to that one at all?
No, I have.
Dude,
I think
love
that's the
early
only
Rob
zombie album that I've heard songs off of that I enjoyed.
Hellbilly Deluxe and probably
Because at first I thought
fuck,
you
what's
said
the one
Hillbilly
after that?
Deluxe. I'm like, oh, really? You like Brooks and Dunn?
I like his 2005 album Educated Horses as well though. But everything after that, I've seen him live. and-
Zombie's not a thing for me. I mean, he's got his songs like Dragula and
Yeah.
what's the
Living Dead Girl.
Living Dead Girl? What's the one with like 5,000 in the title or 500 in the title? Oh my goodness, why can't I think of this?
House of a Thousand Corpses.
No, that's the movie. I'm talking about. He's got a song that's got like 5,000 in it, I believe.
I feel like I should know exactly what you're talking
maybe
about.
I'm
I like a
wrong.
little bit of White Zombie too.
I'm wrong then. Sorry, forgive me. I have no idea what I'm talking about. Continue.
American Idiot. Definitely
Green
made.
Day?
Yeah, I love that man.
Honestly,
I
love
love it.
I love that album. Too.
I love that album. It
No,
is
thank
so
you.
good
I
front to
can listen
back.
to that album like cover to cover.
It's not that poppy. Everything after that, I was stopped being a fan of. I mean, like 21 Guns to me was
21
like
Guns the song. I like the song, but I didn't really care
The
for
whole-
much of the album.
I couldn't get into any of it. I haven't really listened to a lot of their newer stuff.
Yeah, me neither.
I mean, I'm a big fan of their older punk,
I like
more
old Green
punk
Day.
stuff.
Yeah.
But
One word, Dookie. The only album I like
Dookie.
by Green Day is
I like
Dookie.
Nimrod. I like a lot of their stuff.
I like a lot of their older stuff.
Every Aussie album ever made could be honorable mentions. Every Black Sabbath album.
Well, I'm like that with Dave and stuff, but I didn't want to be too
Yeah,
biased. You know what I mean?
I feel
And
it.
that's why they're on honorable mentions.
I mean, the same thing with me and AC/DC. Just every, I can say every album.
Absolutely.
Cannibal by Static X. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's a big one for me. Ashes of the Wake. Not Ashes of the Wake, I'm sorry. As the Palaces Burns by
Yeah.
Lamb of God.
That's a great album. Somebody that doesn't listen to Lamb of God like a bunch, like that's a great album.
It was so heavy. It's a
great
great
album. Absolutely.
That was when they really started to push forward. That was before Laid to Rest.
I remember that Philadelphia DVD, bro.
Philadelphia's amazing.
Bro, that DVD, like we used to watch it all the time.
It's so awesome. I
Yeah.
got a funny story I'll tell you.
Isn't
after
there like a
while
scene
about
where like
that.
somebody pukes on somebody or something like that?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember watching that in high
They
school and just
get-
being like, this is what rock and roll is.
They get into it like Randy gets into a fight.
They get into
with
a fight on
Mark
the tour
and shit.
bus, right?
Yeah, it's
I
awesome.
remember that, yeah.
I mean, other than that, I don't think so. There's not too many albums that I hold in high regard. I guess I've cherry picked a lot of the songs throughout
Oh,
my
I
life.
mean, there's-
Iowa by Slipknot. I
There's
suppose.
so many, and like what I was gonna say before,
There
like
probably
I
is.
cut you off from your last album out of the 10 was, you know, we're such music consumers that like our 10 albums are gonna change from time to time.
Oh yeah, mine.
Like-
I forget more music than I
Yeah,
remember.
exactly.
That's where I'm at with it too.
And it's like I love the Allman Brothers, dude. I've been really
Yeah.
getting into their live stuff lately because if you want to listen to
it's
some
so
like
good.
some jammy Southern rock,
Yeah.
that's the
Oh,
Allman
yeah.
Brothers through and fucking through, man. And like I said, it always changes. Like you have your albums that you like hold very close to your heart, and like Dark Side would be the one album that's never going to change for me.
Yeah.
That Dave album that I mentioned earlier in one of the episodes is never going to change for me. But like, there's a lot of albums that kind of interchange because, you know, your ears change as you grow older.
Yeah.
You like things that you didn't once like, and things that you used to like just become not as, you know,
Fuck
well
Metallica,
received.
man.
I mean, yeah, I feel that. I mean, because like the Back in Black album and The Wall. I mean, those two are probably going to be some of my favorite albums.
Death
Till the day I
Magnetic,
die.
actually, that's got to be in my honorable mentions. I fucking love that album. 2008 Metallica album.
Wow.
Really?
Dude, it is so good front to back,
Yeah.
man.
I didn't really care for
Instrumentally, it is
it.
so
I mean, I
good.
like Metallica.
Now
I
the
didn't
new
really care
album
for
is
it.
a little You can definitely tell in the solos that he lost. Apparently his like phone got destroyed or something like that. He lost a bunch of solos that he had for this last album, and you can really tell because they sound like refurbished and
Yeah, if they had Dave
washed.
Mustaine, you probably wouldn't have to worry about that.
Right.
Fucking Metallica. At least you didn't say Saint Anger because I'm not.
I love Saint Anger, man.
I'm
You
not-
gotta get. It's
I'm
way
not-
more of a
no.
punk album.
yeah. Oh yeah.
It really is.
Works
It's
real
not-
bad. Works real.
It
well.
sounds terrible. I mean, the
Works-
snare is
yeah, it's
awful.
awful.
We're
Yes,
going to talk
absolutely.
about that.
So anyway, guys,
It is what it is.
these are our favorite and most influential albums. As I said, they're always going to change. Some will stay the same. You know, some will be different. But
Oh, taste change though.
exactly. So this is kind of a little glimpse into what we like. We're trying to give you guys like a head start into getting to know us without actually having to know us. We don't need any more friends. Some of us don't have any. I'm not going to mention who.
Wow.
It's me. I don't have any friends. I tell everybody I talk to, like, I don't have friends anymore because I have kids. Like, all my friends are on PlayStation.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh well,
Yeah.
it's the same with me in the PC.
Yeah. All my friends are in different states and they're playing the same video games as me.
All my rowdy friends have settled down.
Yeah, so that's exactly. Well,
No,
they
I'm-
haven't.
I'm
they
the
have-
rowdy friend that
yeah.
settled down.
We're the ones that settled down. You're still living that life with no
Whatever.
kids and, you know, enjoying that rock star lifestyle
I'm
that we always
trying
talk
to.
about. Yeah.
Although I don't think I was ever really that rowdy.
Yeah. I'm not going to say here nor there for me. Thank you guys once again for listening. This has been another episode of the Music Dicks podcast. Make sure you tell your friends about this, guys. If you like it, we want to spread and we want to grow, kind of like Corona, but not kind of like Corona. But like we don't want to hurt people, but we want to
infect you.
Yeah, we want to infect you. We want you guys to spread us like Corona. We want you to tell somebody, and they'll tell somebody, and then they'll sneeze, and they'll be like, while they're telling somebody, they'll sneeze on them. Hopefully, they don't have the Corona, so they don't give them the Corona and our podcast. But all I'm trying to say is
Corona.
is spread this thing like wildfires because we want to grow. And check us out on Facebook at the Music Dicks on Facebook. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, send us an email at musicdicks@gmail.com. That is DICTS, not DICKS for anybody that needs to know the spelling. Same thing for the Facebook page. Tristan's working on Instagram. I've been saying that for a month and a half. He's going to have one up sooner or later. We may have a Snapchat in the works. I don't know. You know, tell us what you want to hear us on, how you want to interact with us. But, you know, absolutely check out the Facebook page. And once again, tell your friends. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you again next time.
Hey, on man.
Scars, darling, is doing my say.
Hey, on man.
Scars, darling, is doing my say.